People talk a lot about big data, and they focus on the volume of the data. The second part that is less kind of thought of, but I think equally important, is the disparity of the data. It's actually really hard to bring together lots of different data so that humans can make sense of it. And so if you think about the volume of data increasing at an increasing rate, which is almost a banality, and then you think about the number of data sources increasing at an increasing rate, then the only thing that matters is the marginal cost of data integration. Like, how long does it take me as a human to make sense of what new types of information, not just new data bits, are coming in? So we solve that problem through a product. And the typical way you solve that is kind of one-off, non-replicable, or rather bespoke. And the other part, which is kind of embedded in what I say that we focus on, is not AI, but IA. Instead of thinking about how do we replace the human, we think about how do we augment the human, IA being intelligence augmentation. So when it's kind of not just user-centric design, another vision, the competing vision to Minsky's vision, which is Licklider's vision, around how do you make humans much more productive. Mostly our customers are large organizations who have lots of kind of legacy data issues. Any institution in the world that's existed for some period of time, more than 5 years, has a problem with how do I make sense of different data that I originally collected for lots of different purposes. This was for business intelligence, this was for operations. If I can mix the two in an interesting way, there's something there, all with different data formats, all who have a very small slice of what's actually going on. If you can integrate that, you now have a common picture of what is the ground truth, what is needed where, and how to allocate your resources. We build software that our customers run on their premises. But one of the original visions, because we did start off thinking about how we could help governments solve really hard security problems. And of course, Peter is a well-known libertarian, and Alex is well-known to be left of center, to say it mildly. That there's essentially a new efficient frontier that's possible, essentially a Pareto preferred outcome where you have more security and more privacy. And that to achieve a vision like that required real technologists working on privacy as a first-class technology problem. And if you think about how many of the technologists in this room today are engaging on these problems in this way, you can see that there's a need for this sort of infrastructure. So it's very obvious how this applies in government, but I think it's also hugely applicable in the commercial space. Like, how do you protect healthcare information where who you are determines what you have access to, and why you need this information determines what you have access to? Yeah, essentially at a policy level, you can think about protecting data in two ways. One is how do you regulate or think about rules on what you collect? We don't actually deal with collection, but that was a very effective paradigm when we were data poor. It was easy to kind of limit the stream. In today's world, that's necessary. You can't do away with that, but it's not sufficient. You need to think about how do you control how data is used. And so, and to do that effectively, you have to know where this data came from. So if you go back to my data integration idea, when you're bringing all of this data together, you can't lose the origin of it. You must be able to decompose it so that you can know who can see what based on where it came from. We build on-premise software, so it's not hosted. We're not hosting software, we're not hosting data. The way that we've kind of organized the company is there's a group of engineers that work on building the platforms. And on top of these platforms, you have products, and you kind of some arrangement of products comprise an offering. And they're kind of tied to the success of the platforms and the development and advancement of it. And we have another group of engineers, the team that I lead, that focuses on customer success. Like, how do you use these tools that are available to solve problems that matter in the world? You have all of this infrastructure, all these products we built to integrate data that's coming in. Then the question is, how do you apply it to solve a problem that matters to this organization? And then once you kind of get that arrangement right, you have essentially a bundled product offering. At some level, I think the technical solution to secure information sharing helps get around a lot of these issues. So like the interface between the humans that could otherwise be highly political, you can systematize in a way that's like transparent, you know what's happening, and it's not subject to the whims of kind of what's in my rice bowl, what's in your rice bowl. You can no longer say, well, this isn't possible. You now have to kind of overtly admit that there's a political agenda there.